Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
I like Bob very much. He's my friend, but he gave me a Super Bowl ring a month ago, right? So he's a good friend of mine, but and I want him to do what he wants to do, but we have a great country. We have great people representing our country, especially our soldiers, our first responders, and they should be treated with respect.
Hilary Levey Friedman is an assistant professor of American Studies at Brown University. Go.
Well, I teach a course at Brown called Sports in American Society. And this is actually the perfect way I'm going to start my first lecture. Look, sports are political. They bring us together for the most part. Sports enable people to come together across multiple divides. And this, what I would say, is really the second wave of protest, because what we're seeing this week isn't part of the original Colin Kaepernick. But this is, you know, this is people coming together and saying, don't mess with what we see as really a civil religion in this country.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well,
Separating the two protests, I think, is an accurate thing to do. I mean, Colin Kaepernick's original sit down and then encouraged to kneel down, so he showed less disrespect to the flag and trying to make his point about police community relations in the country, for which he had some residual support with the players, but nothing that dominated the scene. It was the president who spouted off like he did, who then caused this second reaction, his speaking last Friday, and then the Sunday reaction that really was more of a reaction to the president than it was support of Kaepernick's position. You read it the same way?
Completely agree.
Okay, so tell me what you were trying to say there.
Well, let's take the Super Bowl as an example. We'll hope the Patriots make it again, or at least I will. But more people watch the Super Bowl than attend church on Super Bowl Sunday, which is really a fascinating statistic when you think about it, because we think of America as quite a Christian and religious country. But football has the possibility of bringing people together in a way that few other events do. And since we're talking, I'll just limit it to football at the moment. But football is seen as a way for communities to come together, and in much the same way that we have religious symbolism around the sports teams, right? If you just see the Patriots logo, you know where somebody stands. You don't need the words or anything like that. And people come together around the Patriots, around whatever their team is, whether it's regional or not. And for the President of the United States to come in and say, hey, I'm going to tell you how you should do it, people see that as violating some kind of sacred trust.
Well, I don't know what people well, you know what, it's split. I mean, the phone lines yesterday on the radio on WPRO, weekdays 3 to 6, were split. I mean, there's this overused, but I guess still accurate term known as the Trump base, many of which exist in southern New England, not a dominant population, but a significant one nonetheless, who buy into the idea. This guy who is planning tonight to do the jersey burning over there in Swansea, they see this thing as now a veterans issue, a Love America issue, and all that kind of thing. And I keep reflecting back on flag burning and First Amendment rights. And I don't want to see anybody burning a flag, and I would stand up against it. But I understand that this is civil right, the civil right and a protected right to do so. He has changed the argument. He's completely sabotaged whatever the heck was going on in the NFL, whatever was percolating inside the NFL gridiron social issues dynamic. He's confused everybody.
Well, and I agree with you. I should have been more specific, perhaps. People who we know were part of his base in the NFL have now turned and said, stay out of it. So that's something quite different. I mean, as President Trump said... You
mean like the Crafts and
Tom Brady, perhaps, yes. So they're reacting and they're not happy about what happened. And so you're right that I can't speak for the broader base, and we probably don't have good statistics on that. But certainly we see a change in how the NFL, both the owners and the players, are reacting.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about what the NFL is going to do. This morning, the president suggested that the owners were afraid of the players. I mean, afraid of the fill in the blanks, afraid of the... Stay with us.
One of your players after last weekend came to you and said, hey, Bill, you could be a catalyst for change in America. Will you write President Trump a letter for us? Is that something you'd ever entertain?
Yeah, right now my thoughts are about getting ready for Carolina.
Oh, God. Okay. Jeez. All right. Listen, that's the winning formula, right? Sure that football intrinsic individuals in the NFL would like to see this whole thing go away. What happens this Sunday is anybody's guess. But Donald Trump, we don't have the video here handy because we just couldn't get it up for production early afternoon of the show here. But today he suggested that the NFL owners were afraid of the players. I mean, the dog whistle on that is just clear. And, you know, calling them SOBs when he didn't even do that for KKK and Nazis, you know, in Charlottesville. Have you figured out whether your degree gives you the acumen or just as an everyday citizen, whether he is aware of what he does when he speaks this way? Is it purposeful? Because there's a racial baiting part of this whole thing that is, if you're scoring it objectively, is undeniable.
Well, it does seem that the athletes he singles out do happen to be black athletes, and so that's a cause for concern. Now, to say the owners are afraid...
Well, I mean, the NFL is not completely black. I mean,
that's correct.
It's 70%, 75% black. I mean, he praises the NASCAR crowd, you know, and they didn't, you know, well, that's an all-white crowd. Black America has some social justice issues. They're looking for platforms to be able to identify what they are. You know, I'm not suggesting that it has to happen on National Anthem days, yet I don't sit there and cry for America and my veterans who sacrificed for this country for the right for people to exercise the First Amendment's, privileges. I'm just confused as to whether America is going to run with the president on this, and what does that mean? Patriots fans are burning the jersey. You're never going to go a game anymore? Guys in my fantasy league, he said the right thing. I'm sick of this stuff. Well, these are the very athletes that you treat as commodities, as pawns in your fantasy football games. These are human beings that have a point of view, and we're supposed to, when they put their helmet and jersey on, not listen to that? All right, that's the end of my speech. You go.
Well, often if people are saying what we agree with, we have less of a problem with it. So it's just an interesting perspective on, are you saying what I agree with, so then it's okay, or are you not saying what I agree with? But we actually expect our star athletes to be role models. So this is one of the biggest criticisms. Stand up, take a stand, say what you believe in, because young children are watching you.
I'm hearing guys on the phone line saying, shut up and play. Like I would say to Springsteen when he makes a big speech in the concert, you know, shut up and sing. I don't think that's true. I think there is a relationship with these. There's a craving to know athletes past what their helmet and what their shoulder pads show, correct?
And social media has changed this, but at the same time, we also see the ways in which social media has given us our president. And in fact, what he said in this Alabama speech, which was 80-something minutes long and quite rambling at times, so we don't know if he planned to say anything about the NFL at that speech. But what he is fixated on is the ratings of the NFL when he tweets about it. So we can see here how the desire for access to our public figures, whether that's through reality TV or through social media, has sort of given rise to this entire situation. But I do want to say, just for a little bit of historical context, we've always had athletes involved politically. Sports have never been divorced from the political scene. You know, you can point to many examples in the Olympics over the years, but you can also point to a lot of recent examples in college football where players are taking a stand as well. And I do wonder, I cannot try to get into the mind of President Donald Trump, but perhaps when he was saying the owners are afraid, he didn't just mean that we will give him a positive spin on that. Maybe he meant he's afraid the players won't play or they're going to strike.
I said that yesterday. You could have a collective bargaining action. You could have a walkout. I demand that you stand and salute the flag. You know what? Up yours. I'm not playing.
But honestly, like, think about all the people who want to play in the NFL and who go into the combine and all of that. Like, that's not a legitimate concern. If these players aren't playing, there are thousands of other players.
Talk to everybody about the early '80s strike and how that all panned out. Look, the NFL is a private entity. They have the right to construct rules regarding the national anthem and/or move the timing of it so it becomes less a lightning rod. Where do you think, in half a minute here, where do you think this is going?
Well, I think that it's interesting for everybody to think about the links between the military and the NFL, which have always been quite strong.
Yeah,
and what
well, the
that
Defense
means.
Department was paying the NFL.
Yes.
We didn't know that for 5 years, so, you know, for all these ceremonies.
Oh, and,
so we all thought we were
ROTC
tearjerkers.
recruitment.
Right.
There's a
Yeah.
great sports writer out there, Dave Zirin, who's done a lot on this. So
Yeah.
I encourage people to read his stuff. But look, this isn't going away. Whether it's the NFL or something else, we're only going to see this intermeshing of politics and popular culture more and more as this presidency continues.
As this presidency continues. Thank you. We shall continue with a final thought and tell you what's tomorrow night next.